Welcome to Unfair Sports, where we're talking OU football, college football, and sports in general. I am your host, Jay. We got a recurring guest slash co-host now, my man Coop, jumping back
Yo,
on the
what's
mic.
up?
Coop, what's going on, man? How's your Sunday going?
What's good, man? A lot of time on the smoker and a lot of time on the grill today, so it's been a really good day.
Oh, that's always the best day. That's the best Sundays to go. So, appreciate everybody tuning in on the video and listening on the podcast. I'm going to actually release this on the actual podcast itself. Topics for the day: we're going to jump into mainly Big 12 football. Oklahoma State, Texas, TCU, Kansas State. Who is running the Big 12, and who do you feel like is going to make it to the end, the conference championship game? And some recruiting updates. Coop's got some updates on the recruiting trail because the biggest thing is this week, Sooners on a bye week. This is our week. We have defeated, I think, the bye week. We're not going to hold an L 49-0 like we did against Texas, but we're going to be excited about the fact that we are not struggling and we've got a great game coming up. So we will preview the Oklahoma Iowa State game later this week. Should be me and Coop. May actually have another guest on. It just depends on if everybody's available. But we will chop it up about that game coming up. And so, with that, let's jump into the main topic. It's been a crazy season in college football, especially for the Big 12. As of right now, if you ask most people that watch college football, they'll tell you they feel like the Big 12 honestly is the one of the top conferences in the country
Yeah.
this year. If it's not the SEC, it probably could be the Big 12. And the feeling is that the conference is going to cannibalize itself
hmm
in its pursuit to the conference, the college football playoff. So, in thinking about that and running through my brain, gotta ask a simple question right now, Coop. Who runs the Big 12? I'll let you start us off. Who do you think runs this bad boy right now?
I mean, you got to kind of say it's TCU, right? They invited Oklahoma in, they put it down there. Oklahoma State, now Kansas State. Some people are maybe going to start questioning their methods because let's just be honest. Starting with Dylan Gabriel. They take out Dylan Gabriel with another dirty hit. I was at the game back in 2016, I believe it was, when they took out Baker Mayfield right before halftime. And then Trevor Knight came in and was like killing groundhogs with the balls that he was throwing. But they take out him. They have a couple shots at Spencer Sanders. They take out, uh, uh, you know,
Adrian
who was
Martinez,
maybe
yeah,
Adrian Martinez and Howard this week,
and
and then
Will
on
Howard,
top of
yeah.
that, and on top of it with Kansas, I mean they take away their whole season by taking out
Jalen Daniels.
Jalen Daniels. So I mean, um, again, is it a coincidence? I mean, there's a lot of tweets around this, and Jay, I just can't say that that's a complete coincidence. But right now, they are undefeated, and they have put it down on some of the tougher teams. We'll see them a little bit later in the year. See if they can avoid that letdown, but they're doing it. Up next, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State maybe should have beaten TCU if they took the same approach that Utah took against USC. Maybe that doesn't go into overtime. Maybe Oklahoma State walks out of that game with a win. Kansas
Mm-hmm.
State, again, they were down to their third string quarterback against TCU this week. They went from having a blowout over TCU to, kind of getting edged out and, losing by 10 points. And so
Mm-hmm.
you got to think those three are the top three in the driver's seat. And I think after that point, it's anybody's game. Iowa State's 0-4 in the conference, but still every single game, you don't want to go into Iowa State just thinking that it's a complete W. Jalen Daniels comes out with Kansas State with us Kansas. They're going to be extremely formidable. West Virginia, you never know what you're going to get through them. With OU back with Dylan Gabriel, you got to think that, I mean, obviously, like, as an alum and as someone who's been an OU fan since the 90s, you got to think that OU is going to have a way to make a real run at the end of the year. So, which game is the easy game? Which opponent is going to be the easy opponent? I don't think that there is one. And I think that everybody is going to have a competitive game this week, next week, and until we hit the Big 12 championship.
No, I'm with you there, and that's kind of the one thing I was looking at when it came to asking this question. It's really who do we think right now? Of course, is going to run the Big 12, and I'm in agreement with you. Think it's TCU now, like you said, their
Hmm.
methods. I saw all those tweets talking about them having they're basically taking out just about every quarterback that they played against this
Yeah.
season, which is coincidence. I don't know, but like I said, going from OU to Kansas to Oklahoma State, and then Kansas State, it looks a little fishy. But outside of that, they are playing the best football. They're winning their games and they're closing all of them out. Now they were close games except for the Oklahoma game. It doesn't feel like they are as dominant, and so because of that, I'm going to say TCU as well. And so
Yeah.
now that we're talking about them, we can go ahead and jump right into their game, right? So TCU closed out Kansas State 38-28, leading the
Yeah.
season on into a 7-0 record. Let me edit that. I actually put the wrong number in there. They are 7-0, not 8-0. We will fix that right now. And boom, TCU beats Kansas State. They knock them out 38-28. They are now 7-0. The AP poll did show them a little love, moving up to number 7 in the country on the ratings or whatnot. And so they have a fast track to the college football playoff right now. As long as they remain
Yeah.
undefeated, go to the conference championship game, they have a great chance of doing that. But this game was really good. I think what was interesting to me is that they knocked out Adrian Martinez and they quickly got down 28-10. No Deuce
Hmm.
Vaughn, no Adrian Martinez, and Kansas State was able to go out there and start cooking them. But then from there, they went ahead and went on 28 unanswered points to win this game. Max Duggan went out there and did his job, especially in the second half, and um, it felt like this was supposed to happen. I mean, he finished with 280, 3 touchdowns, and then of course, Kendre Miller had 29 carries for 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like this team has explosion on both sides of the ball. So to
Yeah.
me, when I watched it and looked through it, it feels like they are the most complete offensively and defensively right now. They're the only ones that I feel like can do everything they need to do. What was your takeaway from this game outside of the injuries that we saw from it?
I mean, with 3 minutes left in the second half, Kansas State was a 91% chance of winning that game. So, you even have Will Howard, and we saw Will Howard last year, and that was bad. That's why Adrian Martinez was welcomed with open arms. We know how
Right.
erratic he has been in his career. So, but with that being said, like you mentioned, no Deuce Vaughn, they went out and they continued to put points up on the board, and then all of a sudden, it started kind of tilting. And then again, when Howard went out, you're down to your third string quarterback. And I mean, as an OU fan, you know what it's like to lose your quarterback. All of a sudden, you start, trying to find more unorthodox ways of moving the ball. And even with Knowles out there on the outside, still, still being a man, that's a, it's a hard, it's a hard task to go out against TCU and compete with, the backup to the backup to the backups in a lot of situations. And so you start seeing TCU make that crawl, and then all of a sudden they're done right at the end. TCU has scored the most points in conference play, actually second most, right behind Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because they both played OU in that little stretch. But they're throwing up some points. It's every single week. You wait for them to kind of take a step back, and we're not seeing it. We're seeing Max Duggan still continue to play at a Heisman level. You're seeing great, contributions from the skill positions. And I'm just going to say it: if you continue to take out the quarterbacks and the starting quarterbacks and the backup quarterbacks, it puts them in a great place to win. And I don't know if it's just a pressure release now with Gary Patterson leaving. He gets out of there, and now everybody is a lot more free to play the game in a fun manner. We're seeing TCU play completely unleashed right now.
Yeah, I think what baffles me in this one is that TCU had 0 sacks in this game. They only had 3 tackles for a loss, while Kansas State finished with 4 sacks and 6 tackles for a loss. So
Hmm.
now TCU was getting some pressure on it, but like you said, once you take out a quarterback and you have no nowhere to go, and you have to figure out creative ways of doing things. They saw it because Jack threw an interception before he was yanked when Will was able to come back into the game, and that basically shows you, oh no, we're not gonna make it through this game, and I'm not sure when Adrian Martinez is gonna come back, but the sad thing was that in that game they did not have a sideline reporter, so nobody knew why he was gone or how long he was
Yeah.
going to be gone for. All we knew is that he just disappeared randomly, and you look up, why is Will Howard going out on the field? Like it's that's just poor preparation. It's not something you should ever do. You should always be better prepared like that. You need a
Yeah.
sideline reporter to provide the information that's critical in this game. But besides that, the running game just wasn't getting it for him. Kansas State just couldn't do it like you wanted. Deuce Vaughn, he ended up coming back after getting knocked out early, 12 carries, 83 yards, and a touchdown. I would have thought that defensively, as good as Kansas State played, they'd be able to do close things off. But if you're not able to move the ball and you get rid of the ball real quick, that puts so much pressure on your defense. That's a critical thing that makes it easy for you to crack. So TCU goes out there, runs down their throats, throws it over their head, and wins this game in borderline dramatic fashion. Like I said, scoring 28 straight points because Kansas State couldn't do anything. So that kind of shows you there. TCU really right now is on a collision course to actually win the Big 12 or at least go to the conference championship as long as they keep it going. Looking at their schedule, there's not too much there that makes me, I guess you could say, nervous. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But first, let's jump into the other game that went on this past weekend. That was a big one. It was Oklahoma State. They took out the Texas Longhorns, giving Texas their third loss of the season. And, you know, as much as Texas fans want to come over here and joke about 49-0, you can keep saying it all till you're blue in the face. You got 3 losses. And your season is basically done. You thought that your season was going to last a lot longer, and it appears that that is definitely not the case. So Oklahoma State closes them out, wins this game 41-34. Spencer Sanders threw 57 times in this game.
Yeah.
He had 391 yards, but he threw the ball 57 times. That's crazy to me. It's like this. I guess that Texas defense wouldn't allow any runs, and then you go in, Quinn Ewers, whatnot. He was 19 for 49 for 300.
Wait, hold on a sec. Because I mean, I was pretty convinced by a lot of Texas fans that he was a Heisman candidate and Texas was a top 5 program with him at the helm. So you're telling me that, I mean, what was it? Let's see, checking the stats here. 19 of 49. I mean, if my math's correct, he connected on a few passes that were meaningful. And then outside of that, it was a lot of air balls.
Yeah. He overthrew his receivers. I think it was about 20 times, which is the most by someone that threw the ball that many times, or the most in the Big 12. It was bad. Like the jokes are flowing right now. I asked the question on Twitter earlier, is his statue still up in front of the eyes of Texas? Because that same thing you heard was the same thing I heard. Quinn was the truth. Now, not to say he's a bad quarterback. I mean, you joke, like I said, about the 49-0 all you want, but y'all play against a team that didn't have a quarterback. He looked like he can sling it, but it looks like he slings a little too much. Looking at the stats, Quinn Ewers is one of only 3 QBs since 2000 to attempt 49 passes in a game, 49-plus passes in the game, and complete less than 20. And that's per College Football's reference site. Max Olson posted that on Twitter, and I thought that was quite fascinating, that he's only one of 3 that had a terrible completion percentage after throwing the ball at that high of a clip. I expected more in this game, but then he threw an interception. They called it back at the end of the game, and then he threw another one right after. So he threw back-to-back picks, and it felt like he was a freshman. It felt like he was disheveled in that one. Did you get a chance to check him out and watch him play?
So I mean, I'll say this: the kid is a freshman. He has not played meaningful football for 2 years. He didn't get to play last year. He sat out his senior season. Let's just call it is what it is. The kid looks good. As far as physically what he looks like, I mean, that's another story. But he looks like a good kid. I just don't think that he's ever going to have a better set of receivers between Jatavian Sanders, Whittington, and Xavier
Worthy.
Worthy out there. I mean, he's never going to have this collection of talent to throw to. And then Bijan Robinson, he's gone next year. And so, I mean, is this the best he's ever going to look? Is he going to get better? Is he going to get more efficient? I don't know. So I'm going to do this. Listen, the last thing I want to do is praise a Texas guy when he doesn't deserve it. But Quinn Ewers is going to get better. He's going to continue down this road. His talents are going to get better, but his supporting staff, I don't know if they're going to. I don't know if they're going to get better. And again, at the end of the game, you saw him tossing the ball. And there were times that he was throwing passes down on the sideline, trying to actually show some football talent and acumen that it looks really, really bad, like
Right.
Davis Bevel bad. And so, but this is a dude, Davis Bevel ain't making $8 million in NIL. This guy is. And so I would give anything in the world to have the skill set at receiver and tight end and running back that Texas has right now, and just put somebody in there who could, not be hyped up. We got really hyped up when it was Dylan Gabriel throwing these passes, 5 yards over the head of the receivers. But let's just say this: if Quinn Ewers was better, Texas wins this game. There was a lot of reports that Spencer Sanders wasn't even going to play in this game. They could not run the ball in this game. They were, every single time that he threw the ball, he was really early in the first quarter, was rolling out to his right and threw the ball, and it looked uncomfortable. They're, leading receivers out and no running game. You've got a bunch of other crew, which Gundy does a great job in having his team ready. Typically, just in the past, Oklahoma State's laid it down to Texas. So my assessment for the whole game is Oklahoma State was able to get the small things right more often than Texas was, and that's why they won the game.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's exactly what saved them in this game is that they were able to. They did the little things that were important, like not turning the ball over a bunch. Like 3 interceptions in a game is a big deal, and especially one of this magnitude. So I expected a little bit more out of him, but we didn't get it. And you're right, like Quinn Ewers is going to be fine. Now, do I think he's going to be a Heisman candidate? I don't know.
Not
if
this
I can
year.
say that right now. I don't even know if I can say that in his future. I think that he'll be a solid quarterback right now, but I don't know about Heisman yet. We'll have to talk about that whenever I see him put up a lot more numbers. He's got a lot more numbers he's gonna do to get my attention in that capacity. The only reason why I ever talked about it with Dylan Gabriel is because I've watched him throw for 3,000 yards 2 years in a row. That tells me that there's capabilities there. I got to see it with Quinn. We'll get it though. Probably next year he'll probably try to throw for 4,000 and everything will be happy, unless he gets dethroned by Arch Manning because Texas does things like that. But let's talk about Oklahoma State real quick. And one quick point about Texas. You mentioned the wide receiver set. Everybody should be back. They should get Worthy back next year because he's only a sophomore. And same thing with Jatavian Sanders. So that he should get both of his main guys back. But that running corp is done. Bijan Robinson will go pro this year because he will be he'll probably be the first running back drafted this year. And then Roschon Johnson's a senior. I don't see him taking a COVID year.
To come back.
I see him going pro because everybody knows how good Roschon Johnson is. It's just the only thing that sucks for him is he's behind Bijan. So I think though he is NFL ready. He's big enough. He's strong enough. He looks like an NFL running back. He should be gone as well. So as long as they do a lot of replacing on the running game, they should be all right, but we'll see. But Oklahoma State, let's jump into them really quick because I'm always fascinated by them, especially as bad as their defense is this year. They have the 126th ranked defense, 129th. Passing defense. Their passing defense is bad. I think Oklahoma's like 131. Like we're right next to them. So we're both atrocious on the pass defense. I am just surprised this year because I expected them to take a step back from last year, especially losing like I said, those super seniors and all of those other players that Jim Knowles had. But I didn't expect them to drop this low. Are you surprised that their pass defense is this bad?
No, and I'm not. And here's what I say: is you had a crew of guys Malcolm Rodriguez leading that bunch, who had been in that system for, I mean, 4, 5, 6 years. These guys have been there for a long time. And then you take some of them out and you replace them. They've got some really, really good and really talented guys. But when it all comes down to it, I mean, you're not going to take that crew of super seniors, guys who've played together with each other for that long, and actually see them turn into a better group the next year. So, I mean, that's just it. They've got guys up front who are really, really good at what they do. They're good at rushing the passer. But again, you've got a freshman at safety who is probably the most dynamic player, and you're going to see Oklahoma State give up more yards. If an offensive line can just hold off that defensive front just a little bit, it spells trouble.
Yeah, Bedlam's going to be fascinating this year. I'm kind of curious to see how many points is going to this. I feel like Bedlam's going to be like the old Texas Tech Oklahoma matchups between Baker Mayfield and Patrick
Patrick
Mahomes, where
Mahomes,
they're going to
yeah.
like both throw. It's going to be like a total of like 1,600 yards of total offense, and they're going to score over
Yeah.
150 points combined because it's literally just going to be just balls flying in the air because nobody, for the most part, is going to be able to stop anybody else right now. So that's going to be a fascinating setup. Can't wait to check that out. All right. Before we wrap this bad boy up and put a bow on it, thank you all for tuning in. Jump in the comments. Let us know what you feel about the Big 12 right now. How good do you think it is? Who do you think is the top team in the Big 12? We want your opinions. Jump in the comments. Of course, I'll constantly reply. You know, I'll hit y'all up throughout the week as I get the notifications. But with that being said, let's jump into the last one, recruiting updates. Coop, you said you had some people that you want to talk about. What you got for the people?
All right, so let's put to bed Jackson Arnold doing anything different than showing up in Norman next year. It's done. You saw him on ESPN this week, and not only did he ball out, I mean, this is a 5-star quarterback. Like, if you watch something and you're like, who's a really good quarterback? What would you want to see from him? This is the type of thing you see 25 of 28. Now, I didn't even do the math. I don't want to mess around with the math because if you can't hear 25 of 28 and go, that's pretty good, then there's something wrong with between your ears. 4 touchdowns, also 84 yards rushing and a touchdown. Jay, if you saw this game, I mean, this guy was cutting with precision, like he was a neurosurgeon. And then when he decided to take off, it was poetic also. And he was playing against what could be the 24 quarterback commit in the Hawkins Jr. kid. I mean, this is a guy who's going to come in and probably be a little bit of a project, but Jackson Arnold, he's the real deal. So if Dylan Gabriel stays next year, I don't think that Jackson Arnold steps up and goes in front of him. But if Dylan does say, hey, listen, I want to put my feet in the water for the pros, I mean, I just don't see anybody who's been more polished than Jackson Arnold. So we've got greatness there. And then let's
before you
go
move on
ahead.
that, I watched some of that game. I went and tuned in or whatnot, and Jackson Arnold is the truth. Like, I'm really surprised that he's 13. Well, he's moving up the ladder on a lot of boards because of how well he's been playing and how he's just been commanding the offenses, and the passes have been good with precision. But like you mentioned, the 2024 player from Allen, Michael Hawkins Jr., is also someone that Oklahoma and Alabama has both offered, and potentially a project, but at the same time, you bring him in and he sits behind Jackson Arnold for a year or two, you could probably get something special out of him, especially if he knows how to run this offense. But overall, it looks like, I mean, Jackson Arnold jumped on a pod with Brandon Drum this past week. I need to go listen to all of it, but a buddy of mine gave me some cliff notes and mentioned that, you know, Jackson's locked in on Oklahoma, and the way he's locked in is that he's probably going to try to start next year. Like, that's his goal.
Yeah.
To walk in, be a freshman starter, run this offense, and be a 3-year starter. And I saw that in him when I initially saw him commit, started watching some of his film. I was like, yeah, this is one of those kids that's going to walk in the room and try to take over. Well, he's already doing it now. He's trying to recruit other players. He's here all the time. Like, it seems
Yeah.
like every other weekend he's here in Norman at a game, and he's on unofficials trying to recruit the other guys that are showing up, saying, "Hey, man, come play with me. Come be on my team. Be one of my defensive guys. Come out. Let's build a dynasty here at this school for the years that we're here. Let's make this together. Let's make this chosen 23 class so
Yeah.
absurd that when we're on the field, everybody's like, yeah, it's going to be dominance." And so I'm here for Jackson Arnold doing that. I'm here for him recruiting heavily for this team. And that tells you,
Yeah.
I know the Notre Dame whispers are out there. He ain't going nowhere. He's already shown that, he wants to be here and he wants this to be his team. So I love it. So let's move on to the next set of players you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So also, Denton Geyer has, both the Bowen brothers and the Yates defensive back. Ryan Yates didn't get a lot of action this week, and they just stayed away from him. But with his comments here earlier in the week, I just think that ship has sailed. He's going to stick to LSU. He's going to be going there.
Yeah,
But
he closed out his
if
recruiting. He basically said that
yeah,
he's locked in at LSU for now. And LSU's playing better football right now, so there's a good chance
yeah,
that he's probably looking at a great opportunity to get some game starting next year. So I could totally get it.
especially after they put it down on Ole Miss this week. So, but if you didn't get a chance to watch this game, just hit YouTube up, go back and check your DVR if you recorded it, because Peyton Bowen, who is the really kingpin for the safety, this man is a human highlight reel. And so, if you're an OU fan, and I want to bring up Antonio Perkins on punt returns,
Oh
if
my
you
gosh.
remember back in those days, there was the UCLA game where the dude just could not be stopped. I was actually at that game as a student back then, but him and his brother Eli, these kids are must gets. And I don't, again, my readings on the situation is that it's going to come down to the wire, and it's going to be an A&M OU battle. So A&M continues to lose, OU continues to put things together. I feel good about it. He will be probably the best safety commit that we've had in quite a long time. And his brother is not a tag along like Talon Shetron, the past year. His brother Eli is really a defensive back that is really, really going to be a great get for us. So my hopes are that, we get those guys into the fold here pretty quickly. 2 weeks ago, again, we continue to talk about McDonald, the DT from Georgia. He visited OU. Between himself, LeBlanc was with him,
Yeah.
and Cecilia Connor was with him. And he had, from the reports, OU did everything they could potentially do. Now,
Right.
this week he visited Clemson, and it's a Clemson OU battle. So I got to think that this way is OU sold him out. They said you could be the anchor of this defensive front, and you could come here and not only win a national championship, but change the complete culture. This is a chance for you to staple yourself as you could become the person that in the future we say you're the next McDonald to anchor this line. So I'm excited about him. His decision's coming up pretty soon. And I got a new one for you, Jay. And I don't know if you've really, really looked at this, but there's an offensive tackle commit to Wisconsin, and his name's Chris Turek. And I believe that's how you say his name, but he's 6'6", 295. He's out of Illinois. This is a dude that we're starting to take a look at. And between Beadenbow and Levy, they're making a big push at him and maybe trying to get another offensive tackle commit in here. Because, again, we've missed out on a couple of guys the past couple of years. Call it the bag man, call it NIL, call it whatever you want. But we're a little short. And so this is a big push for him. And I'd probably wrap it up with this. Colton Bassett. Guys, this kid lives in Austin. He has known the battle that was in front of him for a very long time. And if you're watching this right now and you're wondering, is he going to just be a flip watch? It could very, very well indeed be that. Here's my personal perspective is Colt Vasic lives right there. His dad went to Texas. They've gone to every home game for countless number of years. when he made his commitment to OU, he knew the pull that was going to be on him. And it only helps OU's chance to cement and, validate what he's thinking to continue to stay confirmed with Oklahoma. And I fully believe that he's going to be at OU in the fall. That is it. Another
Yeah.
thing is that everybody pushed together with his, the rumors that he was going down there with Arch Manning and chopping up with Arch Manning, and now there's starting to be that some rumors that Arch Manning is opening up some conversations with other schools. So call it what it is, but I fully see that Colton Bassett's going to be at OU. He knows what's in front of him. He knows the opportunity in front of him. And Jay, I would appreciate it, and I think that I would hug you personally if we see that man show up.
I mean, honestly, I don't think Vasic is on the flip watch like everybody's saying. I mentioned this on a couple of other shows. I think that it's being created by the machines because they want to see
Yeah,
something big happen like that. And he's the easiest target on that, mainly
yeah,
because he's
100%.
right there. You know what I'm saying? He's just one for them to say that. Oh, there's a chance that Vasic's going to flip. What makes you think he's going to flip? Oh, he's at the Texas game. He's always at a Texas game. Like that's
Always.
if Texas was truly in his purview, he would have just committed there from the beginning and then done his visits a little bit more there. But for him, he's a unique situation. Like I said, his dad's a legacy. He's there. He's always there. And him and Arch Manning's cool. Now, like you mentioned, the Arch Manning piece is fascinating because supposedly the rumor is now, I mean, I will say this rumor because I'm reading it at a couple places now, is that he reached out to Georgia
Georgia.
to reopen his communication lines. And that doesn't mean that he's going to go there, but he might be exploring options. He might be looking at a chance for him to start now. He may look at Quinn Ewers and see that, oh, if I go there, I'm definitely not going to start for at least 2 years. I have to wait
Yeah.
2 years, and maybe he wants to play earlier. So there's a lot of reasons that could have come. That loss ain't going to be it. It's probably some other things. Everyone takes the thought that a loss is the reason why kids usually flip. And look at what Texas A&M has done these last few years, and Texas themselves. Players don't flip because of losses, and we've watched both of these teams not do very good on the football field. So let's get that out of our minds and stop pretending like that's actually a reason why these kids leave. They usually flip for other reasons. But overall, I think Vasquez will be fine. I did hear about the Samson Okunlola.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm bad about names, and I got to go find
That's all right.
But I think Samson is someone that's going to be a big deal. I'm hearing that we're hardcore going after him, and he's at a Braintree, Massachusetts. So
Yeah.
supposedly we're hardcore all over him right now, and that's one player that Jackson Arnold has put the full court press on. Bring him in on the line, 6'5", 305. Whew, that's a beast. But the Jackson Arnold interview with Brandon Drum was good, and he really talked through players that he's going after and things like that. So go check it out. It's on the 24/7 site. Go search for it. Brandon Drum's I got the link in the description as well. Definitely worth your time. Outside of that, thank you all for tuning in to Unfair Sports. Coop, thank you for jumping on as usual. You're going to see a lot of him around. He's becoming my right-hand man on this. We'll talk a little bit later this week. We'll have a preview for the Iowa State game coming up this next weekend, as well as a reaction video probably the day after, probably sometime Sunday evening or Monday morning. I'll definitely have an instant reaction the morning after to just, after I digest everything and I get off an airplane when I fly back. But I'll have something for you before the NFL games. But outside of that, thanks for tuning in. Please hit the like and subscribe button as well as share because sharing is caring. And if you're listening podcast versions, give us 5 stars. If you don't think we deserve it, just give us 5 anyway and gift it. And with that, we will chop it up with you all in a couple of days. Peace.